The Malaysian government stands firm. This is not about stifling free speech or clamping down on innovation. It doesn't do that at all.
Hello everybody and Happy New Year. You are watching NST's Beyond the Headlines, the go-to space for top Malaysian news and more. My name is Amalina Kamal and today we dive into critical issues shaping Malaysia's digital future, particularly on the government's push for greater online safety. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil has been at the forefront of some of the most transformative changes in the communication landscape this year. Now, from advancing connectivity to safeguarding Malaysians in the digital space, we sat down with YB Fahmi as he shares the policies and initiatives aimed at empowering Malaysians in this fast-evolving digital era.
In December of 2024, the Dewan Rakyat approved the Online Safety Bill through a voice vote. The bill mandates social media platform providers to fulfill three key responsibilities: ensuring platform safety, protecting children under 13, and limiting access to harmful content. Fahmi, who is also the Unity government's spokesman, highlighted that the bill was introduced to comprehensively address online safety concerns.
If the Communications and Multimedia Act looks at industry, telcos, and looks at certain kinds of content moderation, but to be more effective, and what we're seeing in other countries like say the United Kingdom is content curation, where you tell the platform that, look, certain types of, all of this is scam, like the one which I raise with them all the time. There's this ophthalmologist named Professor Dr. Mohaya. So she was cautioned and given a warning letter by MOH because they said that she was selling products that were not licensed, so-called eye drops. But it was a scam. She had nothing to do with it. There were these perpetrators who impersonated her and created all of these pages and were buying ads from Facebook. So we're trying to tell Facebook, look, trying to tell Meta, this person is she's well known in Malaysia. Her identity is being misused. Why can't you just use your AI and just find all of the content and just block it at source? Hey, all of these ads, they're paid for by somebody using some kind of credit card or some method of payment. Why can't you just blacklist all those numbers?
Right.
So we don't see that they're serious in tackling crime because they're making money from the criminals. They don't like it when we say that, but that's the truth.
So better accountability, better, I suppose, stern action from the platform provider side is what the ministry is looking at.
Yes.
Okay. There is a call, especially by NGOs, at least watchdogs groups, saying that there needs to be a creation of an independent commission to enforce the Online Safety Act better. What steps do you think the government is looking into to ensure that the enforcement body, or at least anyone who is under this or being viewed under this act, is free from political and commercial interference?
Actually, if you were to, when the act is brought to Parliament, you can see that the mechanism Datuk Sri Azalina and her team have thought of is very good. One, there is a committee separate from MCMC that will be empowered to designate what is meant by harmful content, harmful online content. So it's not MCMC that will decide. Yeah? MCMC licenses the platforms because we have the regulatory tools and instruments to do that. MCMC is a technical agency that, because of Section 263 of the Communications and Multimedia Act, can respond to requests by other enforcement agencies, including PDRM, KPDN, the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority, NPRA, on illegal and unlicensed drug products. So these other agencies, because these platforms and internet service providers may not have a nexus, and they themselves don't have the authority or the power vested by an Act of Parliament to instruct. So they work with MCMC to make these requests. So a lot of people think MCMC makes the request. Actually, it's not true. Actually, MCMC is a facilitator because we are empowered by an Act of Parliament to act and be an intermediary, in effect, with and for these other agencies, with the internet service providers or the social media platforms, etc. With the Online Safety Act, what you will see is the formation of an independent committee that will be chaired by somebody who is appointed by the Minister in charge of law, not the Minister in charge of communications. So I will have, or whoever in my role, will have no say who is the chairman of this committee. And even the composition largely is decided by the Minister in charge of law, separate from me, or the Minister in charge of this portfolio. On top of that, both MCMC itself and the Online Safety Act makes a provision for appeals. So the appeals tribunal for MCMC, those whose content had been taken down and they believe that that it was wrongly done, there is a complaints tribunal, an appeals tribunal set up under the Communications and Multimedia Act, headed by a sitting High Court judge, not MCMC, and they're completely independent, and people can go to them and seek remedy. If they feel that the remedy is insufficient and they're not agreeable to it, they can take it to court. So the kind of judicial oversight is present. The Online Safety Committee will be separate from MCMC. MCMC will not designate what the harmful content that platforms need to take down will be. And I have to stress this, the Online Safety Act will be for the platforms, not for the users. It will be about the principle of duty of care. If we say, in Malaysia, such and such a content constitutes scam, so all of these platforms licensed by and regulated by MCMC must comply. MCMC will not say, I will not have a say in what this kind of content is going to be. So if they say CSAM, this committee will actually stipulate what CSAM is, so that we stop, as I said earlier, we stop the whack-a-mole approach.
Prior to the January 1st deadline, the Communications Ministry had tirelessly urged social media and online messaging platforms to apply for an applications service provider class license. This licensing requirement, currently in effect, aims to improve online safety, user protection, and regulatory oversight.
There are at least 8 platforms that we have identified that fulfill and meet the criteria and the conditions to apply for the class license. This license is something which is applicable to any platform that has 8 million users or more in Malaysia. So we're not targeting specific platforms. So for some of these platforms, they can argue on the point of whether they really have this many users in Malaysia. Some of them argue that it takes time for them to have a local office. Meta, for example, has been pushing back, and we know why. Largely it's because right now they earn 2.5 billion ringgit from the Malaysian market in 2023 selling advertising. But when we look at the data, out of nearly 300,000 pieces of content that MCMC requested all platforms to take down over this past year, until today, when we're recording this, 90% is from Facebook alone. And out of that 90% of the content, some 180,000 pieces of content is just on online gambling and scams. So our question to a platform like Facebook is, you make a lot of money from Malaysia, and Malaysians lost in 2023 432 million ringgit from scams on Facebook alone. So the net outflow from Facebook's operations in Malaysia is almost 3 billion ringgit, and yet they don't want to comply with our laws. That doesn't compute. If Malaysia is an important market to you, in terms of volume, in terms of the kind of activity, then our laws should apply. Why? What makes you, so extraordinary or so special that you can make money from us, but our laws don't apply to you? How does that work? When we highlight that our intent is to make sure that the internet in Malaysia is safer for children and families, how can you not get behind a message like that? It's to make sure that it's safer for kids and safer for families. For this administration, the most important message is we want the internet to not only be fast, widespread and cheap, but safe.
On December 23rd, police and the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission launched Oppedo Bersepadu PDRM MCMC, targeting individuals involved in possessing and distributing child sexual abuse material. The operation, led by Bukit Aman's D11 Division, conducted raids across 6 states, resulting in 13 arrests and the seizure of 40,000 CSAM files from devices, including computers, phones, and hard drives. Prior to the crackdown, the New Straits Times released a series of exposé revealing the rampant sale of Malaysian-made explicit content, including CSAM, on social media and messaging platforms, with some videos sold for as little as RM1. Authorities also reported cases of children, including primary school students, becoming addicted to pornography and involved in creating and profiting from CSAM.
Some of the notoriety of locally, if you could call it that, locally produced pornographic content, they're essentially what is PDRM has taken action against has been where it's not only the content that's created, but it's also prostitution that's perpetrated. And I think this form is something that the authorities are on the lookout more for, because pornographic content, whether it's produced overseas or produced here, is one issue. But the kind of content that's created in conjunction with prostitution, that's where this form is particularly abrasive for society, and something which the authorities are paying very close attention to and taking action on. Unfortunately, the term dark side seems to have a kind of a certain connotation to it, as though it is something which is not admirable, but something which is acceptable. Neither OnlyFans nor dark side activities, particularly those that lead to aspects of prostitution or anything that can lead to that, particularly, should be considered a norm, should be considered acceptable. I mean, it's not in any Asian culture's practice, yeah, and even more so in Malaysia. It's something that that we abhor, and I think there is a trend, largely one would presume, because certain modus operandi that is from other countries. Yeah, so we see some of that coming in now.
Do you think it's concerning that a lot of our youngsters are looking at this as trend and not as like a crime?
Yeah. There's poor legal literacy. I think they don't understand how this constitutes a crime. They think it's just earning money on the side, or they think, if you remember a couple of years ago at the height of the pandemic, the debate about sugar daddy, yeah, this kind of activity came to the fore because of an advertisement that was put about 100 meters away from a mosque in Bangsa, in my constituency. And at that time, it boiled over, and people felt that, this is unacceptable practice. This is odd to see in Malaysia. So, I mean, the whole sugar daddy kind of thing is one matter, but when you look at dark side, which is very clearly prostitution, and soliciting and profiting from this criminal activity. I think what needs to be highlighted, especially to younger generation, including Gen Z, is, you know, these kind of activities break the law. And if you break the law, then you can be taken to court and the consequences are severe. Do you really want to throw your life away? Do you really want to put your future at risk, in jeopardy, because of this kind of short-term income? And it's not right.
Fahmi urged parents to remain vigilant about their children's online activities. He emphasized the importance of open communication and monitoring.
Parents shouldn't leave devices with children, especially if they're underage, minors, if they are below the age of 13, for example. At the same time, those who are in their teens, we have to increase their digital literacy to make sure that they understand the risks of certain behavior. And not everything you see online should be copied, should be practiced. If you remember, at one point, you know, there was this whole thing about TikTok challenges, where you were dared to do certain kind of daredevil stunts, theatrics, and we know sometimes it's a threat to life. So not everything you see online you need to copy. Sometimes some of these things lead to very serious bodily harm, if not death. So parents play an important part. I feel that right now many parents think of devices as nanny. They think that kids with devices are, you know, that they will be able to look after themselves. That's absolutely not the case. And on this point, I feel, being a parent myself, I feel that platforms need to play a bigger role to make sure that certain modes, certain safety modes on their platforms are more easily accessible and turned on. That's why we believe that it is time to look at regulation. These platforms have no real commitment to Malaysia, particularly Malaysian law. They only cooperate as much as they feel is comfortable for them, and it doesn't jeopardize their business interests. The Malaysian government stands firm. This is not about stifling free speech or clamping down on innovation. It doesn't do that at all. Their argument has been, oh, if they are regulated and licensed, then it curbs innovation. The car industry is licensable and well regulated, but that doesn't stop so many different types of innovative products from coming into the market. Hydrogen cars, electric vehicles, hybrids, two-wheelers, six-wheelers, 16-wheelers, you know. So you can have innovation and regulation. They are not mutually exclusive, and they're not diametrically opposed. That's not the case at all.
Fahmi also highlighted the government's focus on sustainability and inclusivity this year, noting that its strategic frameworks drive economic progress, foster equitable growth, tackle societal changes, and keep Malaysia globally competitive.
I think we are seeing good progress in terms of where the economy is heading. We can see that the ringgit is strengthening. We can see the bursa is performing well. And we can see that the amount of investments coming in from strategic sectors, this is proof that some of the major frameworks that we've laid out, whether it's the Madani economic framework, the new industrial master plan, the National Energy Transition Roadmap, these three documents highlight that direction, and we are moving in the right direction. We're taking the right steps. And since the 1st of December, we're seeing for civil servants pay increases. The progressive wage policy is in effect. So even in the private sector, people are beginning to experience slightly better wages. Some of the challenge will be how to harness the power of artificial intelligence for economic good and social well-being. So the establishment of the National Artificial Intelligence Office under the Digital Ministry will play a pivotal role in setting out that long-term view about how AI can contribute positively, bearing in mind the kind of challenges and fears that people have about the future of jobs. Yeah, so we're very mindful about this issue.
The next 2 years are pivotal for Malaysia, said Fahmi, with its 2025 ASEAN chairmanship aiming to boost the economy and enhance diplomatic stature.
The next 2 years will be very important years for Malaysia. 2025, we are chairing ASEAN with over 300 meetings held throughout the country. Senior officials, heads of government, heads of state will be making trips to different parts of the country. This will have its immediate direct economic impact, but we also believe that this stature for Malaysia diplomatically will be a boost, will be a leg up. So what do we do with this position? There's setting a proverbial moral compass for where, because ASEAN is neutral, we will not weigh in on and participate in any bloc per se. But ASEAN as a whole, we will be friends, just like Malaysia. We will be friends with whoever wants to be friends with us. We will trade with whoever wants to trade with us. But ASEAN also, we have what's called the ASEAN Way. So I think 2025 will be an exceptionally exciting year, and 2026 is Visit Malaysia year. So we hope that this year sets that tone, and a lot of people will be very excited to come and visit Malaysia. In this new year, one cannot but wish for prosperity, unity, better understanding between the different ethnic groups, the different religious denominations and groups, even between the different states. I think it's a good time to remember the foundational principles of Malaysia's founding, and how we need to build up and build on from these principles. We have to be more understanding, I think. Not tolerant. I don't think tolerance is important, but I feel that understanding and being just, I think that's something that we need to strive towards.
As we look forward to this year and beyond, Malaysia stands united, ready to achieve prosperity, understanding and progress. A big thank you to Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil for sharing his valuable insights, and thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed watching this episode, click the like and subscribe button to our YouTube channel at NST Online. Don't forget to also share your thoughts with us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, as well as TikTok on NST Online for more news and updates. My name is Amalina Kamal, and I'll see you next week.